You know what a panther sounds like when it's hunting you? That low Maybach growl, like a big cat clearing its throat before it tears you apart. We'd learned to fear that sound in Normandy, learned to run from it the way rabbits run from wolves. But that morning in the fog, September 19th, 44, Lieutenant Colonel Abrams came on the radio with 3 words: all units reverse. We backed into the mist, let them push forward into nothing, and then we did something no Sherman crew was ever supposed to do. We turned around and hunted them. What we didn't know was the cost of becoming the predator. The fog swallowed everything that morning. I couldn't see the bow of my own tank, couldn't see the mud we were backing through, couldn't see anything but gray soup pressing against the vision slits like the whole world had been erased. The air inside the turret was thick with the smell of gun oil and nervous sweat, and that particular metallic taste you get when fear sits on the back of your tongue. Kowalski, my loader, had an armor-piercing round in his hands, and I could hear the brass casing rattling against the breech because his fingers wouldn't stop shaking. The kid's lips were moving, silent prayers to whatever saints look after boys in tanks. Perkins, our driver, kept his foot hovering over the accelerator, knuckles bone white on the steering levers. Henderson sat at the gunner's position, one eye pressed to his sight, humming something low and tuneless. Nobody spoke. We just listened to those engines getting closer, diesel, deep, heavy, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once, the fog playing tricks with sound until you couldn't tell if death was 50 yards away or 500. Then Abrams came on again, that calm Kentucky drawl cutting through the static like he was ordering breakfast instead of commanding men to hold their fire while German armor rolled past. Baker Company, pull back to grid reference Charlie 7, nice and easy, let them come to us. And that's when a shape materialized out of the gray maybe 40 yards to our left. A Panther, 45 tons of German engineering, the most feared tank in Europe. I saw the long gun first, that 75mm high-velocity cannon that could punch through our armor from a mile out. Then the sloped armor designed to deflect our shells. Then the commander's cupola with a man standing in it, binoculars raised, scanning the fog. We froze, all of us. Stopped breathing. I could hear Kowalski's rosary beads clicking against his ammunition rack, could hear my own heart slamming against my ribs, but the German commander was looking straight ahead, not left. His turret was pointed the wrong direction. He passed us like a ghost passing through a wall, that Maybach engine growling, treads clanking over the wet ground, and then he was gone, swallowed by the fog again. Close enough that I could have thrown a rock and hit him, close enough that I could smell his exhaust. I'm 99 years old now. That was 80 years ago come September. And I still don't understand how 37 Shermans stopped an entire Panzer brigade. The books call it tactical genius. They credit Abrams, credit the weather, credit our gunnery. But I was there. I saw what happened in that fog, and the truth is simpler and more terrible than any of that. The Germans thought we were cowards. They thought we were running, and that belief, that certainty that they were winning, is what killed them. Arracourt sits in the Lorraine region of France, rolling hills and shallow valleys that fill with mist when the weather turns. Mid-September, 1944, 3 weeks after Paris fell. Patton's Third Army was racing toward Germany so fast we'd outrun our own supply lines. Fuel was scarce. We'd joke, "How far today, Sarge?" "Far as the gas takes us, then we walk." That Panther that passed us in the fog, If his commander had looked left instead of straight ahead, this story ends differently. Hitler had ordered a massive counterattack. 5th Panzer Army. Fresh divisions from the Eastern Front, men who knew what they were doing. Panthers, Panzer Praus, assault guns. Their mission, cut off Patton, take back the ground we'd gained. We were the speed bump they expected to roll over. Intelligence said maybe 50 tanks. There were closer to 300. I was a tank commander with the 37th Tank Battalion, 4th Armored Division. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, the same Abrams they'd later name a tank after, was our battalion commander. We'd fought through Normandy together, the hedgerows, the breakout. We knew how to kill Panthers. You had to get close, hit them from the side or rear. But not like this, never like this. My loader, Kowalski, was 19, from a steel town in Pennsylvania called Arracourt. Never driven a car before the Army taught him to load a 75mm cannon. Talked too much when nervous. Devoutly Catholic, kissed a St. Christopher medal before every engagement. Henderson was our gunner, best shot in the battalion despite glasses held together with medical tape. Hummed hymns when stressed. Perkins drove. Iowa farm country. Never said more than 5 words. And me? I carried a letter from my wife I hadn't opened. Superstition. Like if I didn't read it, I'd have to survive to find out what it said. Dawn broke gray and wet on September 19th. Fog thick as soup. Visibility under 100 yards. Abrams had positioned us in hull-down positions along low ridges. Tanks hidden behind terrain with just turrets exposed. The German 113th Panzer Brigade was advancing, crews confident, orders clear, smash through. Abrams' plan was simple, but took nerve most commanders didn't have. Every time German scouts appeared, he ordered us to pull back. Make them think we were retreating. The Panther was the most feared tank in Europe. We were supposed to be afraid. So Abrams let them believe we were. Our intelligence boys had cracked their radio frequencies. We could hear the German commanders talking, and Feldman, our translator from Brooklyn, relayed it in real time. "They think we're running," he said, "calling us cowards." Henderson looked at me through those cracked glasses and smiled. Let them think that. Pride goeth before a fall. The Panther columns pushed forward aggressively, breaking formation, extending their lines, confident they had us beaten. They smelled blood. They thought they had us on the run. And that's exactly what Abrams wanted them to think. At 0800 hours, Abrams gave the order that changed everything. All units, execute now. Flanking positions, engage at will. My Sherman pivoted hard on her tracks, engine roaring, and we accelerated not away from the Germans, but toward their exposed flanks. The fog was still thick enough to hide us well, and we came at them from angles they never expected. The first Panther I ever killed that morning materialized out of the gray like a ghost, side armor exposed, turret facing the wrong direction. Henderson already had the crosshairs dead on the target. "I got him," he said. The 75 roared, and the killing began. The round punched through the Panther's side armor, and something inside caught fire. Secondary explosion as the ammunition cooked off, the turret lifting 6 inches before crashing back down. Black smoke poured into the fog. But this wasn't a single kill. It was the opening of a slaughter. German tanks were bunching up, compressed into a column that couldn't spread out, couldn't identify where the fire was coming from. Radio intercepts grew frantic. "Wo kommen sie her? Where are they coming from?" We appeared and disappeared in the fog like ghosts. fire, relocate, fire again. In Normandy, we'd been terrified of the Panther. Here, in the fog, the fear went the other way. They couldn't find us. They couldn't see us. And we were everywhere. An 88-millimeter round screamed past my turret close enough that I felt the heat through the armor. Perkins threw us into reverse without waiting for orders, pure instinct, and the Panther that fired was already traversing for a second shot. Henderson fired blind through the smoke and missed. "Reload! Reload!" Kowalski slammed another round into the breech, hands shaking, fumbling. The Panther's gun was almost on us when Henderson fired again. Hit. The German tank shuddered and stopped, smoke pouring from every hatch. 80 yards to our right, a Sherman from Baker Company took a direct hit. The round went through the hull like it was paper, and the tank brewed up instantly. Crew tried to bail. 2 made it out. 1 was on fire, stumbling and screaming, and 1 never emerged at all. Kowalski started praying, couldn't stop himself. "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." There was no time to help, no time to look. Keep fighting or die. The battle raged for over an hour, ammunition running low. German reinforcements arrived, more Panthers from the 111th Panzer Brigade, and the fog started to lift. "That's not good," I said. "That's not good at all." Without the fog, they'd be able to use their superior range. They'd pick us apart. Radio intercept chilled my blood. Gruppy rung. Flank and sickern. Regroup. Secure the flanks. They were learning. The confusion was clearing. An organized Panther force would tear us apart. During a brief lull, I pulled out my wife's letter, still sealed. Kowalski noticed. "You gonna open that, Sarge?" "When this is over," I said. "If we make it." He almost smiled. "That's a hell of a way to stay alive." The fog lifted enough to reveal the scope of what we'd done. A dozen Panthers visible, some burning, some still fighting, some trying to retreat. And then I heard the worst sound in the world. Treads squealing, an engine revving. A Panther had spotted us. Its turret began to traverse, that long 75-millimeter gun swinging toward us like the finger of God. Henderson, "I don't have a shot. He's frontal." Front armor on a Panther was 80 millimeters thick, sloped at 55 degrees. Our 75 couldn't touch it, and his gun could go through us like we were made of tin. We had maybe 4 seconds to live. I don't know where the words came from. Maybe training, maybe desperation. "Perkins, pop smoke and ram him!" Insane order. Suicide. But Perkins didn't hesitate. Floored the accelerator. The Sherman lurched forward, smoke grenades popping, white phosphorus billowing around us. The Panther fired. I felt the round pass over us, so close the tank shook from the concussion. Missed barely. We closed the distance. 50 yards. 30. Too close for the Panther to depress his gun low enough to hit us. Hard left. Get his flank! The Sherman slid past the Panther's bow, tread screaming on wet grass, and for one frozen moment we were side by side. I could see into their open hatch. German crewmen, eyes wide, mouths open. Boys, just boys like us. Henderson fired point blank into their side armor. I saw the round go in, saw the armor buckle, saw a flash of orange inside. And then it brewed up, and those boys, those German boys, were gone. No time to process. Another Panther on the right. Henderson traversed, fired, killed, then another, and another. The German formation had completely collapsed. Tanks running into each other, firing wildly, trying to retreat through the smoke and chaos. That's when we heard it on the radio intercept. A young voice, German, high and terrified. Mutti, Mutti, mother, mother, then static. Kowalski stopped praying. He just sat there with the shell in his hands, staring at nothing. A Panzer IV limped past us disabled, crew bailing out. 5 German tankers stumbling through the mud, hands up. Henderson had them in his sights. "They'd kill us," he said, "and we'd deserve whatever comes after if we shot prisoners." The Germans moved toward our rear. One of them, couldn't have been older than 17, nodded at our tank as he passed. That boy made it to a POW camp. Made it through the war. I know because he found me 40 years later. Wrote me a letter. Had 3 daughters and a carpentry business in Stuttgart. Said he owed me his family. By 1400 hours, the German attack was shattered. Final tally, 43 German tanks destroyed. The 37th lost 5 Shermans. 5 against 3 Panzer brigades. The rain kept falling. The fires kept burning. And we sat in our tanks, too exhausted to move. I opened my hatch and stood in the rain, letting it wash the cordite smell off my face. Burning tanks as far as I could see. The fog had lifted completely now, revealing what we'd done. Panthers and Panzer are first scattered across the fields like broken toys, black smoke rising into the gray sky. The grass was scorched in wide circles around each wreck. German medics and American medics working side by side now, bandaging wounds, carrying stretchers, speaking to each other in broken words and hand gestures. One German medic shared his canteen with a wounded American tanker. An American corpsman was splinting a German officer's leg. War is strange that way. 1 hour you're trying to kill each other. The next, you're sharing water and cigarettes like the fighting had just been a job. A terrible job nobody wanted, but everyone had to do. Kowalski wouldn't come out. Perkins finally spoke. "We should name her. She earned it today." We never did. Some things are too sacred to name. I opened my wife's letter, hand shaking worse than Kowalski's ever had. The paper was damp from the rain, ink blurring at the edges, but I could read it clear enough. She was pregnant, our first child, due in March. I didn't know. All those weeks of fighting through France, all those nights sleeping in the tank turret, all those moments wondering if I'd ever see her again. And she'd been carrying our baby the whole time. I stood in that graveyard of German armor, surrounded by the smell of burning fuel and death, holding a letter about new life, rain running down my face. I think I cried. Hard to say, my cheeks were already wet, but I remember thinking, that's why I'm still here. That's why any of us are still here. So something new can begin. The Germans attacked again the next day and the day after for 2 weeks. Every time Abrams was waiting. By the time Arracourt ended, they'd lost over 285 tanks. Their counteroffensive was broken. The path to Germany lay open. Creighton Abrams became a legend, commanded all U.S. forces in Vietnam eventually, got the finest tank in the world named after him. The Battle of Arracourt got studied at every tank school for 50 years. But what the textbooks never captured was what it cost, what we carried home. Kowalski went back to Pennsylvania, never talked about it. His daughter told me he woke up screaming until the day he died. Henderson became an optometrist in Michigan. The irony wasn't lost on him. Perkins ran his family farm, married his high school sweetheart. Wrote me once, "I still don't talk much. Mary does enough for both of us." I came home to a baby boy. Named him after my grandfather. Not the war. I wanted him clean of it. My son became a school teacher. His daughter is a nurse. Great-grandchildren I've lost count of. That German prisoner's children are alive too. Carpenters, teachers, doctors, all because of choices made in 4 seconds of fog outside Arracourt. Thousands of people exist right now who don't know their lives trace back to September 19th, 1944. People ask if I'm proud. I don't know how to answer. We killed a lot of men. German boys following orders, same as us. We burned them alive because the war required it. I think about that radio man sometimes, the one calling for his mother. I wonder if she ever found out where he died. Henderson passed last spring, 97 years old. I got the call from his granddaughter. She said he talked about Arracourt in his last days, talked about the fog and the Panthers and the boys we killed. Kowalski and Perkins have been gone for decades now. I'm the last one, the last man alive who knows what it smelled like inside that Sherman, the gun oil and sweat and fear and cordite. The last one who remembers what Abrams' voice sounded like on the radio, calm as a Sunday morning while German armor rolled toward us. The last one who felt the fog on his skin and tasted the rain and heard those engines coming through the mist. You asked how 37 Shermans stopped a Panzer army. The books say tactics, training, leadership, and that's all true as far as it goes. But here's what they don't write down, what you won't find in any after-action report. The Germans believed they were winning. From the moment they crossed the line of departure, they were certain we were retreating. Certain we were afraid, and we let them believe it, encouraged it, fed their pride with every backward step, right up until the moment we turned around and showed them how wrong they were. Pride is a hell of a thing to die for. But that morning in Arracourt, a lot of men did. Sometimes, when the rain comes down hard enough and the fog rolls in thick, I can still hear it all. The engines rumbling, the guns roaring, that voice calling for his mother, Mutti, Mutti. I was there. That's all I can say now. I was there.